The federal assistance programs that tided over jobless workers and struggling businesses early on in the pandemic are set to expire this summer. Congress is barreling towards the July deadline, setting up a cliff that could lead to critical aid being yanked from struggling people. About 4 months ago, Republicans and Democrats have assembled an enormous $2.2 trillion spending package to eliminate the total economic collapse due to the coronavirus pandemic. President Donald Trump enacted the CARES Act at the end of March and launched an unprecedented federal effort at the time of closing to focus on individuals as well as large and small companies. As spring turns into summer, patchwork of aid programs that keep people and businesses alive is approaching the end of the recession. The $600 federal support and weekly unemployment benefits will be phased out on July 31. In addition, most people have already taken and spent one-time $1,200 incentive checks on rent, food, and other basic needs. As part of the Paycheck Protection Program, approximately $500 billion of loans were issued to 4.5 million small businesses, but $130 billion is still not used. The deadline is approaching, discussing the scope of the federal lifeline, struggling businesses and the unemployed, and another spending package that says many experts are required to support a recession economy before retreating to setback. Michelle Evermore, a senior policy analyst at the National Employment Law Project, said lawmakers shouldn't place too much faith in an unexpected jobs report shoving the American economy, adding 2.5 million jobs in May. What really concerns me is people relying on the somewhat rosy jobs picture. Evermore told Business Insider that was the kind of a thing that pushed the Great Depression into a double dip, easing stimulus too soon. The White House, along with the Senate Republicans, adopted a wait-and-see approaching, saying that they preferred to measure the results of the programs currently in effect and are concerned about the increased federal debt. While the unemployment rate dropped to 13.3% last month, some GOP lawmakers underestimated the need for another government spending. However, economists warn against pulling the plug too early in federal aid, given the economic devastation committed by the coronavirus. No wind should be taken out of any sails. 13.3% unemployment is an economic and human disaster, Michael Strain, the director of economic policy studies at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, said in a tweet last week. He continued, peak unemployment in the Great Recession was 10% workers, families, and small businesses. There is no doubt about the need. Roughly 44 million people have filed for unemployment in the past 12 weeks, and around 19.5 million jobs have been lost so far. A critical piece of the aid package was the beefed-up unemployment benefits, which Democrats are seeking to extend through January. But Republicans argue it's hobbling the recovery by disincentivizing work. But the unemployment rate is projected to be around 10% for the rest of the year, and the prospect of a hiring blitz by employers is scarce. Without any replacement for the plussed-up unemployment checks, many workers would virtually fall into poverty overnight, Evermore says. It will be absolutely ridiculously bad, she says. And as people begin heading back to work, some workers will find it easier than others to do so. The jobs report showed unemployment ticking up for black workers while dropping for white ones. It's clear that the pace of recovery is not even for all groups. Valeria Wilson, the director of the left-leaning Economic Policy Institute's program on race, ethnicity, and the economy, told Business Insider, Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said any incentive law will be taken by the end of July. However, the Democrats passed the $3 trillion spending package at House known as the HEROES Act last month. It will include increased unemployment controls, send another direct round of payment to households, and provide federal cash to states struggling with foreign tax revenues. However, the Republicans rejected it as a conservative of liberal priorities. The GOP waits whether it will receive a temporary weekly recruitment bonus from $450 to $1,200 a week, as well as other measures aimed at encouraging people to return to their jobs. Republicans are demanding a shield of responsibility that protects businesses from cases related to coronavirus. Federal Reserve President Jerome Powell said that more federal aid should be authorized by Congress to prevent a painful recovery. My assumption is there will be a significant chunk, well into the millions of people, who don't get to go back to their old job, and there may not be a job in that industry for them for some time, Powell said Wednesday. We have never seen that global exports collapsed so much outside of a recession. Obviously, we're witnessing a tremendous change, and I think that more and more people cannot see. As for this wave of financial turmoil, it's hard to say how long it will take. As I record this podcast, markets in the Middle East are collapsing. Stocks in Asia are going crazy. Currencies are collapsing, and shipments are surprisingly fast. At some point, however, we should expect the panic level to decrease slightly. If things get temporarily calm, don't let this fool you. Global financial markets have not been so fragile since 2008. Any kind of triggering event will cause the stocks to drift all over the world. And let's not minimize a bit of damage done before. When people ask when the next financial crisis comes, I have a very simple answer for them. The next financial crisis is not coming. The next financial crisis is already here. An angry bear was released after about 7 years of hibernation, and the whole world will definitely be shocked by the next event. As I record this podcast last night, I feel a bit of sadness. Hardworking people will lose a lot of money this year, and this includes people I know personally. I wish my voice to be clearer and louder. I wish I could do more to make people understand what's going on. I wish my warnings would make more difference. I think of how I would feel if everything I worked in my life suddenly disappeared, and this will happen in some of these people. When you lose everything, this can definitely be debilitating. You only make money if you go out in time in the markets. Unfortunately, most of the general population will be like deer in the headlights and will not know which way to move. There will be days for markets in the near future. But do not be fooled by them. It is important to remember that some of the biggest days in the United States stock market history were in the midst of the stock market crash of 2008. So do not let a rally deceive that the crisis is over. The financial crisis that started in the second half of 2015 is now accelerating, and everything we have witnessed in the past few days is a natural extension of what has already happened. Dear Daily News Report viewers, you can find other videos by clicking on the top right button. We recommend watching, subscribing, and sharing. Thanks in advance. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.